Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. This week we're chatting with Danielle Hayden, CEO of Kickstarter Accounting, about getting your farmers market business ready for tax season. I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers. I'm a longtime farmers market manager and education coordinator at Farmers Market Pros.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active farmers market manager and consultant, founder of Farmers Market Pros, and host of Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, and the Farmers Market Pros community.
And I'm Justine Marzoni-Mead, Tent Talk producer, marketing director for Farmers Market Pros, and logistics coordinator for Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, which is next week, y'all.
It's coming at you.
We're not counting days anymore. We're counting hours.
Yes. Yeah. We're not sleeping, but it's fine. Come join us.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
You can sleep, but it's fine.
It's fine. Right? It's okay. We're going to pull it together by the time you guys show up.
For sure. Still time to buy tickets and hurry on those airplane reservations. Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is supported by Square, helping small farmers, food makers, crafters, and market managers increase their incomes by making it easy to process credit and debit card sales on the street and in the tents. We use Square ourselves, both for selling shopping bags and T-shirts at our market info booth and for invoicing farmers and vendors online for space fees. The income you generate appears promptly in your bank account without spending time or money on end-of-day closeouts. Square's user-friendly system makes it easy to track inventory and payroll and generate clear reports. For more information on reducing stress and increasing your income with Square, click their logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com.
Well, welcome back to Tent Talk, everybody. Today, our guest is Danielle Hayden, CEO of Kickstarter Accounting. Danielle is a reformed corporate CFO who is on a mission to help rule-breaking female entrepreneurs understand their numbers so they can gain the confidence needed to create sustainable profits. After spending 10-plus years in the boardroom as a corporate CFO, she has found her sweet spot working with small business owners and helping them with bookkeeping, financial analysis, and education. Welcome to Tent Talk, Danielle.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be in this space with you.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. We have a lot of people always asking us about tax stuff and accounting stuff, and we are experts in lots of things, but not exactly that. We kind of make it work
by our fingernails on that side.
I
do want to point out,
probably not the best person to ask.
Yeah.
For folks who don't know, CFO stands for Chief Financial Officer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all sounds fancy. All that sounds really fancy. And I want to break it down for people. Really, all that means is that I spent a lot of time helping the rich get richer, and the board of directors and investors and the management team of these mid-sized companies understand the numbers so that they can make business decisions and grow the business. And what I realized is that every single entrepreneur, business owner, market owner, vendor, every single person also needs that same thing in their business. So, having someone to take the bookkeeping off of your plate and understand the information to make better business decisions. So just want to break that down, that it sounds fancy, but really we're doing the same exact thing for somebody who is selling at a farmer's market to the CEOs and the board of directors.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that as much. They're like, oh, we're not a huge company. Like, we don't need these kind of things. It's like every business needs the same kind of like operation and that kind of action. So it's helpful to think about that, even if you're a small business. The farmer's market. So Danielle, can you tell us a little briefly about your personal and professional background and what led you to start Kickstart Accounting?
Yeah, so I am a mama from the Midwest. I have two kids, 17 and 13 at the time of this recording. So at the time that I had started Kickstart Accounting Inc., it was from two places, right? what I realized as I was climbing this corporate ladder, and like I said, letting the rich get rich off of what we were doing and putting together, what I realized was that I had learned a lot of tools and strategies, and I was doing some volunteer work at some local businesses or local like entrepreneurship hubs here in Cleveland, Ohio. And what I realized was that every business owner, every person needed, like they couldn't even build a budget to get funding or a business plan to get funding because they didn't even have the bookkeeping in place. They didn't know the numbers well enough. And I went home thinking, gosh, I'm leaving my kids every day, right? And I was driving about 40 minutes to and from the office. And I actually loved what I did. So I wasn't one of those people who was in corporate and hated every minute. I actually loved what I did. And so this was a big decision for me. And I kept on saying, there's something bigger, right? Like I have the opportunity to show, especially my daughter, but not my son too, but my kids, that we don't have to stay in this box of what we air quote should do or what we could do just because I have a degree, that I have an opportunity to have an impact on something so much bigger. And that was being able to, like, boots on the ground, helping small business owners, sole proprietors, very individual people understand their numbers so that they can get the business loan, so that they can start the business. And actually, when you guys had reached out to me, I don't think I even told you this. One of the places that we got kind of our start was a lot of the local farmers markets, and we had something called the Cleveland Flea at the time here in Cleveland. And that is where we got a lot of our first initial clients when we first started Kickstarter Accounting Inc. So this is exactly who we worked with and who we were able to make an impact with.
Yay, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. So what kind of services do you offer those small businesses when you're doing outreach with them?
Yeah. So our primary service is bookkeeping. So like, what the heck is bookkeeping? It is, every business owner has to file their taxes at the end of the year, right? So no matter what, 1099, you're using Square, you're collecting payments, you now have to file taxes. And so what we want you to have is a full income statement to file your taxes with. So that means you don't just have sales in the door, but you understand where all your expenses are. And so we use QuickBooks with all of our clients. And I realize that when I say QuickBooks, everyone like tenses up and their shoulders go to their ears and right, you're like, oh, walking on coals. We actually manage QuickBooks completely for our clients. So we set it up in a way that's going to help them actually be able to look at the numbers, right? Because a lot of times it looks like a foreign language. And so we set it up in a way that doesn't look so foreign. And then we manage it for our clients. So a lot of our clients will say things like, I don't know how to do accounting. I'm not a numbers person. I don't ever want to have to do this in my business. And so we completely take that off their plate so that they don't have to worry about it. They can make business decisions throughout the year. So I think I'm ready to hire, but I don't know if I can afford it. I think I need to buy a new piece of machinery. Don't know if I can afford it. I think I need to bulk up my inventory. Don't know if I can afford it. So helping our clients make those business decisions throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, it's this really cool thing. You get to arrive at tax season, not stressed out, not overwhelmed. You've been preparing for taxes all year round. You have the money saved because we've been telling you what you're going to owe all year. And so you like strut your stuff, like walk it down the market at tax time because you know what you owe.
That makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
That's so appealing.
Yeah. That's so healing.
Like, here, take my QuickBooks.
Yes. I just want I'm going to call you later. So you're working with a lot of small businesses, and just because our audience is like farmers market management businesses and food businesses, how is that different like from working as a CFO in the large corporate setting, like getting to work hands-on with these small companies?
So we get to actually make an impact now. When my team and I wake up and get out of bed, it's for a purpose, right? Like we get to, and I see the joy from every single one of my team members. What we get to do is help our clients who come to us usually like scared and frustrated, right? Like you're scared of your tax accountant, you're scared of taxes, you're scared of the IRS, you're confused, you don't really know what all this stuff means. You've probably tried asking questions from other people and they spoke at a language above your head, or didn't talk to you in a language that you could even understand. And so the most empowering thing we get to do is walk that business owner from being scared and afraid to confident and proud, where you can talk to your business coach or your spouse or your family members and say, yeah, I know how my business is doing. I'm prepared for tax season. I am hiring, and I'm hiring confidently, right? Like I am walking into business decisions with power and grace. And so, like there's nothing more beautiful than that, than being able to like change like your life, right? Like you, the business owner, we get to change your life and the life that you're going to have with your family. It's not the investor who's investing into 5 other companies and, or the private equity firm who has a bunch of investments. We get to make an impact in you and your family.
Yeah, I love that. I think that makes such a difference because a lot of small businesses are just really small. It's an individual or it's like a really small group that's running these businesses. What's the typical like staff size or revenue for your small business clients?
So staff size might be 0. It might be you, yourself, and I. So a lot of our clients, when they come to us, we are usually their first hire. So a lot of our clients, they realize that they can't hold every single hat in their business. Like you're really good at your craft. You're really good at doing what you do. You're not good at all the business stuff, and nobody taught you how to do that. And so frequently this is a place where it's the most overwhelming. And so we are usually one of the first few hires for our clients, because then you can get that off your plate. And then it makes hiring every other person in your business like that much easier, because if you can actually afford it or not. Usually within those first few hires. And then in terms of revenue size, we work with clients who are doing, less than 100K. So these are usually businesses who have revenue in their business. You're consistent, you're bringing revenue in, but you're growing. You have a goal to grow and to become a better CEO, to become a better business owner, to make a bigger impact in the world or in your community, to be able to make an impact by hiring other people or investing in the community by consuming additional resources in your business. So in terms of size, it might, you might be somebody who our clients are starting, I want to say like 50 to 75,000. Our sweet spot is from like $75,000 a year to about $500,000. It's where we get to usually make the biggest impact with our clients, because you are making the most decisions at that time.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of our like farmers market managers and small farmers market businesses are like in the process of scaling a lot of times that we're talking about, that they're looking to like hire accounting or bookkeeping or have a lot of questions about taxes. They're kind of their business is growing. So they're really kind of busy with the growth of their business too, but they need that help on the back end on the bookkeeping side. So that's where we get a lot of questions that people are always asking about. How do we make this work? And a lot of farmers market groups are also nonprofits. So they work with nonprofit groups. Do you work with nonprofit organizations?
We do.
Or is that something
absolutely.
You guys don't do? You do?
Yeah.
So what kind of like unique challenges do they face? Because I know nonprofit groups are different than like a, private for-profit business.
I think the biggest challenges for a nonprofit, now it depends if you're getting any grants or not. So if you are somebody who is getting grants, your biggest challenge is tracking your income and spending for grants. That's where we run into the biggest issues for our nonprofits. And then it's how to spend money and allocate resources that align with your vision and with your values, right? So it's a little bit different than in one individual that is for profit. It's a little bit different in that you are really aligning with your values in a special way. And so you're spending you're coming from it from a more thoughtful place of how to spend those dollars. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And a lot of small business owners, when you're starting and you're thinking, I've got a lot of questions, we tend to go to our tax accountant because you have to file your taxes, right? So that's usually your first hire, because you have to file your taxes at the end of your first year. And so we tend to go to our tax accountant to say, hey, I'm thinking about making all these other business decisions, and you're leaning on this person. And that's not really their expertise. Your tax accountant's expertise is filing taxes. So a lot of times they can't help you with those additional business growth or other issues.
So Danielle, does your firm do tax filings, or do you work with a tax accountant, either one that you recommend or somebody that's already in place?
We do not do taxes internally. We believe that there should be a checks and balance for every business owner. So checks and balance, that just means one person's doing the bookkeeping and another company is doing the tax filing. You don't want somebody doing both and making mistakes and them not being caught, right? Because if you're doing all the bookkeeping, and look, these tax accountants, they are working hours that I can't even begin to fathom during tax season, because they're bringing all their revenue in that window of time. And so you don't want that person, because they're so tired, doing your bookkeeping, transposing money or dollar signs, and then filing your tax return. So we believe that there should be a checks and balance, and then you just never know about somebody's ethics and how they change as a person. So we do have 2 tax partners that we partner with. And then I always say we play nicely in the sandbox. So if somebody has a tax accountant that they've been working with for a long time, we're happy to work with them and answer any questions that they have too.
Great.
Well, that's really good to know. I just never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense that you shouldn't necessarily have like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, because people catch each other. We've seen that. Our bookkeeping group catches accountants' mistakes and vice versa, or they'll go to the accountant and ask for a really specialized question on how should we be, where in the chart of accounts should this land to make the most sense on it when it comes to tax filing time.
Yeah, that's smart.
Well, you just made a really great comment. I just want to elaborate on that. So the tax accountant, when you ask them a question, their only concern is taxes. So where we put it in the income statement, how we categorize it, what year we put it in, it's all to minimize taxes. And so a lot of times when we work with our tax partner and we get on a call together, we're bantering back and forth because our perspective is different from her perspective, because we're thinking, how do we manage the business? And she's thinking, how do we file the tax return? And so we banter back and forth until we find a happy medium. And so if you're only doing your bookkeeping and your taxes with your tax person, you miss out on that cross view.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good point. I love, Danielle, your Kickstarter Accounting, their little tagline that they have on their website is judgement-free accounting. And I just think that's like really awesome as somebody that used to own my own farmer's market business. Now my husband has his own business and I get to be the bookkeeper for that, which is fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine. But I'm just wondering, do you obviously we have a big audience and not everyone will have the delight of hiring you as their CFO, but do you find like that for your clients and for other small business owners that financials are a source of shame? And if so, like what do you do to help like relieve that shame or to like kind of like switch it around for your clients? Like what advice could you give to be judgment-free about financials?
Yeah, I had no idea that this ran so deep when I started this business. There's a lot of shame, a lot of money mindset. We come into our businesses with a whole money mindset story from growing up, right? Like how your parents feel about money and how your grandparents and generational, right? Like all of that, you have no idea that you're carrying with you into this business. And then how you invest money and how you spend money or not spend money, right? Like you might just be hanging on to all of those dollars. I think the biggest thing is to understand that. So if you're feeling a lot of shame around money, or you're really scared of tax time, or you're really scared to look at QuickBooks, or you're scared to look at this information, I think the first thing is just to acknowledge that and realize that you're not the only one, right? Like I mean, we're in business for 8 years now because there's so much shame around money. And a lot of tax accountants or accountants and bookkeepers don't realize that. And so they talk at you with this language that doesn't make any sense. And so that's why we said that this is a judgment-free zone. So no matter how small you are enough. No matter how big you are enough. No matter if you were profitable or not, whether you spent money and invested last year or not, if you paid yourself or not, like you are still worthy of being a business owner. You're still worthy of getting help. You're still worthy of having somebody help you along that journey. And so that's why we really cemented that judgment-free zone. And so I encourage you to do the same thing for yourself. So maybe when you go to look at your sales for the month or the year, you do that with no judgment, right? Like we just look at it from a data point. Like this is a data point. Now I did really great this month, and last year, this time I didn't. So what did I do differently? What can I learn from that? Oh, I did these 3 things differently. Maybe I should do it again, right? Or, hey, my sales are down this month from last quarter or last month or last year. What did I do differently? Let's stop shaming ourselves and just learn from the data point. And if you're not sure how to do that, then I really do encourage you to get help. I'm not the only bookkeeper out there, right? So there's a lot of bookkeeping firms out there. And so even if it's not us, getting help in an area that feels so overwhelming to you is going to let you breathe easier. And if you find someone who you enjoy talking with and that you trust, it's not going to feel so daunting. Like when we get on the phone with our clients, we have fun, we banter, we talk about our goals, we talk about what's coming up next. So find the right team that's going to allow you to be able to do that and that have pricing to meet you where you are.
Yeah, that's great. Finding a real, I think accounting, no offense, can seem a little like sterile or boring or whatever, but like obviously talking to you is so wonderful. And like if you can find somebody who has a personality you connect with, I think that finding somebody you can trust is really a fantastic way to address some of that QuickBooks trauma or those like shame issues around money or the lack of it.
Yeah, and being able to say, oh my gosh, like I didn't account for these numbers correctly, or like I did a budget, but I didn't account for like the booth space rental or like the jars that I need to buy. Like I'm so embarrassed, but how can I fix it? And we've seen a lot of like vendor businesses kind of like succeed themselves into like failure or like just miscalculate themselves into failure. And it's so sad because like they have this really great idea and like they're making great food or like they have a really good concept and idea, but it's just those little numbers that get missed. And it's just like so unfortunate. I wish more people would reach out and just kind of feel more comfortable talking to somebody that can help them on the numbers side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In your experience with working with small business owners and entrepreneurs, like what we heard your services, so obviously those are some areas that are commonplace, but like are there particular things that you notice like recurring in a lot of your clients or like certain areas that entrepreneurs just like really need help with?
Avoidance. Like we just talked about, the biggest one is shame around money. And because people feel the shame around money, I call it the report card syndrome, right? Like, and I tell my son about this all the time and he cracks up because he's 13 and like could care less about school. And I'm like, you're going to be so successful one day, Cameron. It is, like when you think about, we grew up in this place where at the end of every quarter, you got a report card. And if you didn't do good, your parents grounded you. I grew up like that. And so we think of our financial statements as, well, if you didn't do good, you're going to get grounded, like shame on you, instead of thinking like, hey, what did I do this quarter that was great? Or like, what did I learn this quarter? Right. So I call it the report card syndrome because we don't want to hear it. We don't want to see it. We just avoid it. We avoid it completely. And we just go into a shame spiral and we allow ourselves to stay there. This time of year, we have a lot of business owners kind of crawling out of hibernation from taxes. And they are saying, I I never looked, right? I didn't look last year, and I don't know, I'm not prepared. I'm not ready. And I put my head in the sand all year because I was scared to see it. And so if we could just get over that avoidance and stop looking at it from a place of shame and judgment and look at it from a place of data points and learning, we can start to be willing to look at the information throughout the year.
Yeah.
Do you offer catch-up services for people that have avoided it all year and
Oh,
all of a
yeah.
sudden they go, ah!
Yeah.
You're the cleanup crew.
Yes, the cleanup crew. That's what I'm calling it from now on. Yes, absolutely. I think that's a huge piece of what we do, right? Because we forget. We avoid it. We do not forget. Tax time. My mama always said, there's two things that are guaranteed in life. You're going to pay taxes, you're going to die. So we do not forget that we have to pay taxes. We avoid it.
Yeah, and so that avoidance causes a lot of stress because there's one piece of your mind that's churning along and thinking, oh, at some point I'm going to have to do this. And then the farther behind they get, I think the scarier it gets, and can't even figure out how you're going to have time to do it.
Yeah, once you can like untie that knot in your stomach and just be like, okay, I don't have to be like holding onto this anymore.
Yeah.
I can release it to a professional that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Danielle, if you mentioned a lot of kind of business owners are like coming up for air, like having not wanted to look at last year. Are you seeing like inflation impacting small businesses, specifically in food businesses or kind of these smaller farmers market businesses? Is that something that you're seeing on the back end of the numbers?
Absolutely. I think it's harder than ever in this industry. We have the inflation for the cost of our goods, and then any help that you're receiving in your business. We're seeing the labor costs higher than ever as well. So we are seeing that. One thing that I think we've been able to do with our clients is help them on their money mindset journey and be able to say, I have to raise my prices, right? The inflation doesn't need to get pushed onto the business owner. The inflation can be shared with the consumer. So our clients who are strengthening their money mindset muscle, as every time we look at financials together, they're able to see, all right, year over year, month over month, my cost of goods sold has increased. And therefore I have to raise my prices, not just so that you can have this great, big, profitable business, but so that you can stay in business, right? So you can have a sustainable, healthy, long-term business. We have to do that. So the people who are not avoiding, right? You're willing to look at the information, you're able to see those trends, and then you're able to more confidently raise your prices and really be able to walk into your booth, walk into your market and say, this is worth it, right? My time, my energy, my product, I know what it costs for me to be here.
Yeah, I think that's so helpful because I think a lot of our vendors, they care for their customers and
Absolutely.
They don't want to like make their customers pull out that extra 50 cents or the extra $1 to enjoy what they're selling. But we're always telling our listeners too, like, if you're a mission-driven business, and this is kind of like the little Sarah Delavan within my brain too, of like, if you have a mission-driven business, you're not going to be able to accomplish your mission if you go out of business because you're not charging enough. So I think that like it would be so helpful for like those vendors to actually see those hard numbers and be like, okay, it's not that I'm just hearing on the radio or on TV that there's an inflation, but like the numbers are telling me that it's time to like increase prices.
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of a mindset thing, I think oftentimes vendors underestimate how valuable their product is to customers. They're afraid to raise that price because they think somebody won't pay it when in fact the customers, we so often advise people to raise their prices and then don't even see the customers blink. I mean, they don't even pause. And the same thing with market managers. We so often see them say, oh, well, if I just didn't charge my vendors or I don't charge them anything, we'll have more farmers and vendors. And typically, no, that's not true. They would rather pay a little more and have you have the budget to do marketing and bring in more customers and do things that are going to help them.
Mm-hmm. It's investing in our businesses, right? So I didn't realize this. I thought everybody was always cutting expenses. So I thought we always needed to cut expenses to be more profitable. And what I've learned over the last few years is that a lot of people have a hard time spending, right? Like we have a hard time reinvesting in our businesses. And if we can reinvest and spend the dollars in our business, we can build something bigger. We can be on a bigger mission.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're already kind of zooming through 2023. This has happened the last few years. All of a sudden you go, oh, we're almost down one quarter, or we're almost down half of the year. So how about folks that have not thought about it in November and December when it might have been smart?
They're still avoiding.
They're still avoiding.
For those still avoiding out there.
So they're just now going, oh, hey, taxes are due in 6 weeks. What's the first thing they should do right now?
Yeah.
Is it too late?
No, it's never too late, right? We have clients who are doing a catch up for a few years. So it's not too late, right? I think if you're able to, if you financially are able to get help, I would get help immediately to go back and do a catch up for last year and do a catch up for this year, so that you know that you're filing taxes with accurate information and you can see where you're at year to date. If that's not something that you're able to do, then you need to hunker down and start your QuickBooks Online account or whatever accounting software you choose, and you need to hunker down and get that information into the system. A lot of people before they come to us are trying to use Excel files and piecemealed accounting software, and unfortunately we lose a lot of tax deductions and we overpay on our taxes when we do that. And so it's just important that we take action, right? Like, you're hearing this episode for a reason right now. It is your call to take action. And so it's either finding somebody to help you to be able to do this, or like hunkering down for the weekend or the week, whatever it might be, and getting this information together for yourself so that you can look at this year and start to learn from your data points.
So if you've got somebody that's been doing Excel, or just kind of, the proverbial shoebox full of receipts and things, what should they look for in a bookkeeping service, and what should maybe they expect to pay to have somebody get that into the mainstream, get it into QuickBooks, get it into something that is going to make sense and save them money in the long run? I mean, what do they need to look for to make that leap?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is somebody that you can actually talk to and that has the credentials. There's things online now where you can go to like the Bookkeeping Academy. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're teaching at Bookkeeping Academy. Right. So you have to watch, how are those people being certified? Or what another thing we'll see is, yeah, my brother, sister, cousin, aunt, fill in the blank, family member, neighbor. I heard they know how to use QuickBooks. They're going to do it for me. And I'm like, you heard they know how to use QuickBooks? Like, what does that even mean? Are they an accountant or not? Like your brother, mother, or cousin, like nobody should be doing your accounting on the side. Or like, if they don't know what they're doing and they are not credentialed, just because they were an office manager somewhere and you get what I'm saying. You need to find somebody who knows what they're doing. They can not only put the information into QuickBooks for you, but then pull it back out and explain it to you. All right. So we need to make sure that everything's in accurately. And then that person is equipped to be able to say, let me pull out all these financial statements and let me walk you through it. Let me explain what all of this stuff means. And that's why I say, find someone you actually want to talk to. Like, are they nice? Are they kind? Are they helping you from a place of goodness? Right. Like, if you're running a mission-driven business and you are serving your customers, you want somebody to serve you in that same way. And so find somebody that you can ask questions to and that will take the time and energy to pour into you and answer the questions that you have. So I think those are the two biggest things. Just make sure that they actually know what they're doing. They can explain it to you and that you freaking want to talk to them, because if you don't want to talk to them, you're going to avoid them.
Right. For sure. So do you have a couple of quick opening questions that you should use to evaluate whether somebody's going to be a good fit for you?
You could ask about their credentials. I would ask them about their process, right? So what is your process? How, if you are working with somebody who does this for a living, they should have a process. Like when we work with our clients, we have a strategic framework that we use to build your QuickBooks file. We have a standard operating procedure in the way that we do our bookkeeping services. So ask them, what is your process? How do you work with clients? What is the framework that you work within? Do you have your operating procedures documented that way? If one thing I'm hearing of several times lately is that I had a tax accountant who was doing my bookkeeping and they're disabled or they passed away, unfortunate, but oh, okay.
My accountant just passed away. My personal accountant we've had for a long time. It filed our personal taxes. He just passed away last year. So I'm in that boat.
Yeah. It's so sad. It's so sad. And does that person have a standard operating procedure that whoever is like, do they have a succession plan? So like in my business, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, my clients aren't going anywhere. They still have a service to walk into tomorrow because we have a system of how we serve our clients and a plan. So that would be another good question is just credentials. How do you know what you're doing? Like, why should I trust you? Just get to know them on a personal level, like hear what they have to say and talk to them, right? Why are you in business? Why are you doing this? Right? Like, do their values match your values as individuals? And then how do you run your company? And that if you are working with somebody who has, maybe it's a bookkeeping firm and one person leaves and somebody else takes over, do you have to tell them all about your business again? Like, is there somebody else to work with you?
I feel like this is the episode that Bridget and Kat needed to hear. You're hearing this for a reason.
I mean, I'm dealing with somebody that's got a staff, but it keeps turning over. So I keep having to, explain the whole thing again.
Yeah.
So I guess, maybe something you take into account is the size of the staff. And could somebody ask you if they were signing up with you? Would it be weird to say, so how long has most of your staff been with you? How much turnover do you see so that how much?
It wouldn't be odd. People have asked me that before, or more importantly is what is the process if somebody leaves? So for instance,
right.
For every one of our clients, they have an account manager and a bookkeeper. So if somebody goes on vacation or gets hit by a bus, we have bookkeeping procedures for every single client. So it's documented. It's a documented process that anybody can come and pick up because we have standard operating procedures. And then there's 2 people who are on that account and we record everything that we do. So you don't have to regurgitate and reconduct the wheel.
Yeah, that's great. And then you're talking about you work with some solopreneurs and then you work with bigger organizations. What should people expect to have to budget to get a strong, efficient bookkeeping system or company involved?
Yeah. So it depends on who you work with and where they're located in the country.
Of course.
That's going to have a big impact. So if you are closer to one of the big cities, you're probably going to be paying more. Our services meet you where you're at. So we have pricing that tiers with your revenue. So if you're doing under 100,000, our smallest package starts at $175 per month, and everything is flat rate monthly fees. And so as you grow, as your business gets bigger, our pricing scales with you. So our company is dedicated to meeting you where you're at because we value the solo entrepreneur just as much as we value the person who's hitting $1 million.
Right. And I'm sure it's more work for you if you've got a company with a lot of revenue because they've probably got more transactions and different levels and divisions and that kind of thing. But I think that's another thing that intimidates people, aside from the fact that somebody might make them look at QuickBooks, is, what's it going to cost me every month? And they have visions and it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars. And that's not necessarily true for a very small business if you find the right provider.
Yeah, I feel like with nonprofits too, a lot of our farmers market organizations are nonprofits, and like they think, I can't spend this money. We should just figure out how to do the bookkeeping on the back end because we have to watch our expenses. When really, they might not have somebody who's equipped to do those kind of services. And so they're not going to be using their revenue streams in the best way possible. They're going to miss things. They have to file taxes as well. So it's like, this is a good investment in your business, and you can probably end up making more money and making better business decisions if you just, that could, raise your income level if you just kind of pay a professional to do what they're good at so you can do all the other stuff that you're good at, like marketing and running an event and, curating vendors and things like that.
Yeah. I had somebody ask me a long time ago, what's the ROI in your services? And I said, ooh, that's a good one. The ROI is how much time are you spending in doing this? And what's the value of your time, right? Like you get all of your time and your mental capacity back. And then, what is the value of filing an incorrect tax return, right? If you're overpaying in taxes because you misclassified deductions, that's the ROI right there. You know that your taxes are accurate because your financials are accurate. And then you're saving for your taxes all year, you're making better business decisions, and you have your time back.
Yeah. And that time back and lack of stress, is probably the biggest thing that's so valuable. Last question, Danielle, as we're wrapping up. So we see a lot of bookkeeping services and accounting services now that are doing a lot of work online. Everybody meets in Zoom. How important is it nowadays that you find a bookkeeper or tax person that's in your same geographic location? Does it matter if you're in the same city as they are? Federal taxes obviously are all going to be the same. Are all accounting and bookkeeping services able to keep up with the various states' requirements?
Yeah. So I don't know about all bookkeeping firms, but I can speak to ours. So we work with businesses across the entire United States. So we don't work with anybody outside the US. So we don't work with Canada. Everything is done electronically. So we do QuickBooks Online, we do secure file sharing, and then we meet with all of our clients on Zoom. From a tax perspective, it is federal taxes, but then from your state taxes, all our tax software is set up to keep you compliant from a state to state perspective. It's funny. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, and we are one of 7 jurisdictions that have something called a RETA tax. That's like a tax on top of the freaking tax. And so because of that, we are hyper aware of city taxes and what might be, what you're responsible for locally.
Great. Wow. Yeah, that's what I thought. I know that it seemed like in the past, we would talk to a lot of people, especially that had small businesses, and say, well, I just want to have somebody that I can carry my shoebox into with my stuff and hand it to them. And I'm like, nowadays, that's just not how that works. You get stuff online. You meet with people online. And probably that's one bright spot from the pandemic is we've all gotten more used to talking to people through the computer. You don't actually have to sit down at the desk.
I think we had one client last year that shipped me a box of stuff, but honestly, your shoebox of receipts, we don't want it because we really just want your electronic, PDFs and exports from the bank because it's easier to navigate anyway. Trust me, if you're carrying around a box of receipts, you forgot a bunch of them. Like you forgot
right.
Most of them. Like
True.
They're not.
True.
It's not inclusive.
Some of them are in that bag in the closet, and some of them under the bed.
The George Costanza wallet.
Yeah, right. With the big wad. Thanks so much. Is there anything we should have asked you that people need to know that we didn't?
I think the big thing that I just want to drive home is that I think when we listen to podcasts like this, we can kind of get this like dopamine rush of like, oh, I did something. And if you're listening to this, I just want you to take some type of action, right? So listening to these podcasts and absorbing this information is only the first step. If you're really deep in the money mindset, like just reflect on that and work through that, or, whatever it might be. If you've been putting this off, it's just your calling to take action. Don't let listening to this be the only thing that you do.
We're just a gateway drug, folks.
Yes. What a great reminder.
More to come.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much. I feel like I learned a lot, and I hope our audience did, and that they continue to act on what they learned. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I'm sure you have lots on your plate, so we really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. No, I was more than happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Great.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening today, and big thanks to Square. for helping farmers market participants and managers increase their income and reduce their stress, and for supporting Intense, the Farmers Market Conference. To sign up for easy credit card processing on-site at markets and simple invoicing back at your desk, and produce reports that you can forward on to your accounting and bookkeeping people to make things fast and accurate, just click the square logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com.
Farmers markets are all about connection, and all of us, operators, farmers, and vendors, keep learning. Connect with people just like you from various parts of the country and share what's happening in your area in the terrific conversations over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. If you're actively involved in a farmers market, please find us there, answer the 3 qualifying questions, and join the group. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. If you're looking for further education, check out our online course offerings at farmersmarketpros.com. Thanks for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market Podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni-Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll have another great episode next week, so tune in.